And there she goes. Hey there, hi there, ho there, out in Spray Wash land. Perry Tait will be joining us here just ever so shortly. He said give him a couple minutes. He's running a little bit behind, but he will be joining us in just a few minutes. We'll get rocking and rolling with him. But we do want to remind everybody before we get rolling with Perry, and like I said, he'll be here in just a few minutes, that we do have the PWNA has their convention coming up here in Orlando. And that's what the 12th through the 15th. And a lot of good speakers, that kind of a thing happening there. Except there's going to be a class there that I think, I don't know if I would go. It's going to have, who is that? That Bo Josie and
just said it, yeah. No.
ramen noodle or something like that. And they're going to be doing, oh no, it's Bo and Ray HOA.
Yes.
Hey, that has a rhyme to it.
Right.
Yeah, that will be at the PWNA show.
Yeah, we're going to do our HOA class. We actually did that last year. No, we didn't do it last year. We did it 2 years ago. Last year it was canceled. We talked about how to get HOA business. And hello, everyone. Sorry, we're grabbing something. But no, good little class. But HOA is that, or HOA. PWNA is filled with education. If there's new guys that are thinking about, wanting to get certifications, that the PWNA, as far as I know, not wanting to disparage any other organizations out there, but as far as I know, PWNA is the only not-for-profit association or industry, meaning they actually represent the contractors that are members of them. They're not-for-profit, not that a for-profit's a bad thing, but it does give weight for some of the certifications they have, and they'll have certifications starting out: house washing certification, environmental certification, fleet washing certification, gas station class with Carlos Gonzalez, flat work certification, house washing certification, wood restoration, roof cleaning, parking, then a full spate of other non-certification free classes that are out there by several $1 million plus business owners. Really impressive slate of people on here. Industry paint issues, I'll be discussing that. Pump repair, equipment repair, DOT training. I mean, this is just really a really strong schedule of classes. And then one of the other amazing things about the PWNA that I've always loved is their partnership with CETA, which is the Cleaning Equipment Trade Association. From my understanding, CETA's big problem was, so they're the Cleaning Equipment Trade Association. They had a ton of money, but how many people were actually part of the Cleaning Equipment Trade Association? So they partnered with PWNA, and they put on a heck of a trade show. I mean, you get reps from Honda there. You get you don't get the reps like me and some of the guys that own stores. You actually get the manufacturers there talking about their equipment, and kind of like what you and I saw at World of Concrete that year, Doug.
Yeah, and the World of Concrete was awesome. I love that show.
Yeah, so
do a little bit of adjustment there. Sorry, y'all. And again, Perry will be joining us. He's running a little bit late, but he'll be joining us here in just a few. So we're just recapping a little bit and kind of giving some props to the PWNA show that's coming up in 2 days.
Yeah,
2 days.
That's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm going to go down on Thursday. It's nuts how this time flies by, and I mean, crap. And then all of a sudden, I get back from there, and I'm getting anniversary time.
There you go.
And the Mrs. will have
this next week is my anniversary.
Is it? Congratulations! How many years are you and Becky at?
Well, we're newlyweds, so
yes.
This will be 26.
Yeah,
I think 26.
You're 21.
Yeah.
This on the 20th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. It's so amazing when you have an amazing wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes everything the way that it's supposed to be and the way that it should be and all that kind of fun stuff. And I got to tell you, I was for some reason I was thinking about it today, but and I think it's Tanya's doing. It's not your doing. You're not that smart.
Yes.
No, but the Sunday family meal, man, I'm jealous. I wish I could do that. I do, because I mean, you guys, it's always posted, it's always happening, and you cut things off, and you're it's there, and man, I think that's so awesome, and it's what everybody should be doing.
It's real important to our family to do that, and I think one of the things that where I love it, that like on days that Tanya and I are out of town, let's say we're at the beach, or we're putzing around, or on a vacation somewhere, literally the girls and they'll get together and do Sunday family dinner without us.
That's awesome.
It's really, that's one of the reasons we're like, okay, we did this right, and then I know there's other friends we have on Facebook that have started doing it themselves, and it's just it's a nice time to sit there, and to pray, and to be with your family, and to say grace, and just enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter lives a little over an hour away. My son works every Sunday. It's just, I mean, I always thought, is there another day of the week? But there's really not, because daughter's schedule, son's schedule, they conflict too much. But yeah, I think it's an awesome thing. So again, we're waiting on Perry to show up. He should be here any minute now. Real quick, if you guys don't mind, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff, and hit the like button and hit the share button, share it out to the rest of the world, all that kind of fun, heavy stuff. Oh man, there he is. And so we'd appreciate it if you do the whole thumbs up, like, share, blah 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 blah.
We can hear you, Perry.
Oh,
there he is.
There he is. What happened?
How are you?
What happened?
Don't even talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking different, buddy.
I'm getting older.
You didn't want the gray like this.
Just trimming some of it off, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Well, guys, for those of you that don't know our guest tonight, I don't see how it's possible that you don't. But Perry, I'm going to give you the brief introduction that I know about you, and I know you'll have a lot more. But I went Perry through Reach It and creating window equipment. And Perry literally just the Reach It line is just absolutely fantastic. And Perry has delved into a lot of different things whenever COVID came about. And Perry, you're coming to us from China, correct?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was in Ground Central there. He was real instrumental in teaching us sanitizing techniques and hypochlorous acid and a lot, also foggers and sprayers. His line of poles is fantastic, and his brushes, especially that new radial. I guess it's really not all that new anymore, but that's one of it is the best brush that I've ever used for a general window cleaning brush.
And excuse me, he's got I think it's you'll have to remind me what the website name is, Perry. But a lot of good education on there for window cleaning that I think is it's an excellent resource for window cleaning.
Yeah.
So what is that web address?
That one is just it's on YouTube. It's a playlist on YouTube, which is called Reach It Workshop. Yeah.
Reach It Workshop.
And so youtube.com/future of cleaning, all one
That's
word.
What it is, future of cleaning.
Yeah. And then playlist Reach It Workshop.
And not to mention, I need to talk about the Reach It poles too. The Reach It poles are, my guys always loved the Reach It poles because the minis, because they were compact, 4 foot. They go in and out of a truck. They go down. You don't have to keep them in a bed. You can actually keep them safe and not getting bleach all over them and rolling around in the bed of a truck. And they're compact enough. And then you can still extend the dang thing out to 30 foot. So it's just a great pole too.
So Perry,
and you can add add an extension to that and make it longer. Let me turn this
Right,
off.
right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they made some changes to where they can actually add to it, and how high can you make a
Yeah.
Reach It Mini go?
Reach It Mini, probably 4 stories. Tactical, 5 stories. Warrior, 7 stories, like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine trying to water fence up 7 stories up there. Woo.
Well, but that's all based on the bend, the flex of the pole, and all that as to what wears you out, isn't that?
Yeah, what material we make it out of, what because there's 8 layers of carbon fiber, and how you angle the layers and how many layers and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in a pole. And I think the other thing which I think I'm really proud of is because one of the reasons I moved to China is because I'd been buying from China since the year 2000, and I knew that them and the Indian, the Indian nation. No, you can't even say that. The continent India. those 2 cultures pride themselves in a definition of business, which is basically, can I undermine your order to make more profit? Can I change it somehow to make more profit? In other words, and then when you go, like, you're cheating me, and they go, well, you didn't define it, right? Or quality control it. I mean, that just means I'm a better businessman than you. That's what I've been told so many times. I'm a better businessman than you. When you're lazy and you don't check or you don't define, and I find something like a quantity surveyor. I used to be a civil engineer, draftsman. So same as a quantity surveyor, they do the same. That's their job. Then they find what you've missed, and then that's where they go, well, we can make it look like it. Like that, and we call them cheaters because we're just handshake dudes,
Right.
But they go, come in, spinner, white boy,
And they got, so your reason for moving there was to be able to hold your standards or your quality? Or
that was my reason. My reason to set up the business here. I actually didn't move here for window cleaning. I moved here for solar thermal, believe it or not. I was selling $1 million solar thermal systems. So, but then I didn't get paid. I had a Chinese partner who worked out that I don't really need to pay you your commission. I could just pay you a salary. And I go, dude, I'm sorry. I've been self-employed since I'm 25 years old, and I work for salaries. So. And I said to Harrison, because he was 17 and he'd come over to China with me. And I said, dude, I'm going back. I'm going to sell every single thing we have. When we burn the bridges behind the troops, we're not going back, right? We're not going back a loser. So then I went back and I've got my little cut down XL pole that I'd been importing from Denmark. And I'd already cut it down to look like a mini because I said the design of the poles is wrong and everybody sells too many poles, they sell 1 pole for each story that you want to clean. And why can't you just extend a pole to clean more stories and all that, then pull it apart and all that? So I did all that and then brought it back and said to him, okay, and I only had $6,000 left, $6,000, right? And because I've been a single dad for 8 years and all that. So it's really, I said to Harrison, this is what we're going to do. It's be like the Berenstein Bears. It's either, hey, Dad, you're pretty cool, or hey, Dad, Dad says, hey, kid, this is what you don't.
You're either going to win or lose, no in between.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was going to be the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just like playing out one or the other.
There you go. And you've been working on a lot of different innovations with the not just the poles, but the brushes, the heads, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got another one. We've got another one coming out because in October when I say we're busy, I've gone through. I turned 60 and I made a decision that I'm not going to work 18 hours a day anymore. So I'm crazy busy for my 8 or 9 hours that I work. So we're busy now, but we've got a new. Normally in October we do a sort of a sale, and then and on Black Friday we release the next year's products, because I really hate the idea that you go in on Black Friday and somebody goes 30% off, 40% off, 50% off, and then you get to use the product at the beginning of the next season, and they go all new product, 20% faster. And everybody's gone out and blown all their money on Black Friday for the next season. So I've always felt if I'm going to blow something out on Black Friday for next year, it should be next year's product, you know.
I have stocked up in years past on your Black Friday sales. We have done, you offer some amazing sales on that. And, you know, one of the things that I loved, and so the brush that was before the radial, and keep in mind,
Constructor.
Constructor. What? And I am not a career window cleaner. I'm a washing guy who honestly probably did more windows than most window cleaning companies out there, ironically.
Right.
But, you know, one of the things that I always loved about the Constructor brush, and you're one of the few manufacturers that ever did this, was I would get an accessory kit in there to fix my brush. I would get, you know, extra screws. I would get extra clips. I would get extra clamps. I would get extra everything in there so that whenever, you know,
anything that could go wrong in the field, because I was a window cleaner. I mean, a lot of people don't know that, but I was a single dad and I made my money selling franchises, cleaning franchises. I sold over 250 cleaning franchises, and the franchise group that I worked for didn't have a window cleaning arm, so I said, "Let me start a window cleaning arm." So I had a window cleaning business, with 3 little vehicles and stuff like that. But I was like a single dad, so I'm getting up, taking Harrison to basketball at 6 a.m. and taking Bree to dancing lessons in the afternoons. And, you know, I had to be Mr. Mum and I had to work from home and I had to make enough money to send them both to private schools. And, you know, like it was like the window cleaning is such an amazing industry, but by being in that industry, by being a window cleaner, I knew how deadly it was when a tool broke down, and that was $500 right there because I couldn't finish the job right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know.
And you know,
and with any business that you have, if your equipment breaks and you don't have a way of fixing it there on the spot, that's just lost money. And it's not just that piece; it's the job and the next job and the next job that it's affecting.
Yeah, because I mean, we're scheduling out, we're booking out 3-4 jobs, you know, at one after another. Especially with window cleaning, like what is it you've always said? There's money in glass if you can clean it fast. And you know, if your pole's dead and done and you're wrapped up for the day, guess what? You're not cleaning anything. And you know, I know that with the brushes, my employees were always really, really bad about throwing stuff in, and you would get some natural attrition on there, you know, where my stuff would last forever, but the employees' equipment. So, but then having that little tool, you know, and my guys call me, well, you know, this hose popped off of here. Okay, well, look in that little plastic baggie. You're going to see a key
little Ziploc bag
and barbs on the end of it. Oh my God! Thank you. And I was like, yeah. Now next time, don't throw the brush, you know, and the pole like in the back seat. Just place it there gently.
And we had to learn so much because, you know, before Constructor brush, I mean, every brush was basically a plastic broom. Tell us a joke, Ray. Every brush was a plastic broom, so you could throw them around like anything, right? You know, and then we were actually, making a brush for window cleaning, and we learned a lot about how brutal, how Neanderthalic some guys are, you know, with their tools. And but I was going to just add this one thing because somebody rang me up and he taught me this line, which is 2 is 1 and 1 is none. I mean, and because I really want to try and make sure that as much as possible, we try and transition across the window cleaning parallel. They're both exterior services cleaning businesses, but there's a lot of lessons that apply very much as much for a window cleaner as for a pressure washer. So, or a soft washer or whatever. And this is one of them, like 2 is 1 and 1 is none. If you've got 2 of something and 1 breaks, you have 1. If you have 1 of something and 1 breaks, you have none.
You have none.
So smart guys buy spare parts.
And we're always pushing always have extra parts. You know, you should have at least 2 extra pieces of everything because it's the old saying of it's not if, it's when. And
so I got a question here. Let's toss some controversy out there. Who's better? A window cleaner that becomes a pressure washer, or a pressure washer that becomes a window cleaner?
If they were taking on Reach It, I would say always, all day, every day, a pressure washer taking on window cleaning because they've got no bad habits.
Right.
And so they can take on the radial technique. Like we can clean windows 10 times faster than the other guys, four times faster than the other water-fed pole stuff. But it's a technique. It's a different. The radial is a completely different tool to anything else on the market. And I've studied how to get it around the window fastest.
Yeah.
Which type of agitation to use to get massive aggression so that you only cleaning the window 1 or 2 passes, all that kind of thing. If a pressure washer, A, understands how to spend money on good tools, B, understands the efficiency of passes, the difference between using a 12-inch surface cleaner and a 24-inch surface cleaner on a large area. All the stuff that I teach about efficiency is just obvious to them. And you get I don't know what it's like for a window cleaner. Window cleaners, as a rule, are not big spenders on tools. They'd rather buy a cheap tool that breaks down every 6 months than an expensive tool that lasts forever, as a rule. Like, obviously not our customers. The guys that come to us are the guys who are into quality, carry spare parts, want to work fast, have internal training, all that stuff. That's my area, because I came out of franchising. Right. So
I remember the bar, your Rex bar just changed my life on water-fed poles, because until I had a constructor brush, I think that was that the first one you had that had the rinse bar?
Yeah, the constructor's the first one. Yeah, that's the one with.
Because I was sitting there with pencil jets or fan jets, and pulling it off the window and doing that, and the rinse bar. And I remember the first job we ever did it on was like a $6,000-7,000 at the School of Theater window cleaning job. And it was and I was dreading the job, and I got these things. Actually, I got them at the Black Friday sale, and they came in, and we started this job in January. And I was just like, this job is actually, not only is it's extremely profitable because we were able to work so fast on this job. And it was really an amazing tool to have there.
I think a lot of guys, starting out in this, they fear window cleaning, I guess, is probably the best way. I'm one of them guys that's guilty of that, where total solids and all this kind of stuff, and you're just looking at it going, okay. And you get a lot of complaints about windows, and I'm just like, I don't think that's something that I want to entertain. And then if you're doing the outside, you got to do the inside, and all those just variable things. I feared starting down that path. Though the guy that bought Cajun Soft Wash also now bought a window cleaning company. He's doing very well with it. So it's something that we should have done. So what is your advice to the guy like me that's just afraid of starting the window cleaning side?
Well, the first reason is the first thing is that most guys don't do window cleaning, and window cleaning exists as an industry because guys are prepared to work off the ground, to work from heights, and with the perfection of the water-fed pole, is that you don't have to work from heights. Like when I started my business, I was 42 or something. I'm 6'6". I'm monolithic. And I hate climbing ladders. I just refuse to. So, like, I just know the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Like, I've been told that my whole life, right? And I'm going, when I go down, I'm dead.
I don't want to fall.
I'm just not doing it. I'm just not doing it, So I called my window cleaning company the ladderless window cleaning company. And poles had come in, and from the UK. I ended up buying them from Denmark back then, and I made a decision that if I had to climb a ladder, I'd sub the job. So I only picked up jobs where I could do it with a pole, and I only ever did jobs that I could do with a pole. And I became a master of the pole because I had to work out how to clean the window. So you look at all the little gadgets that people say when we have our elite pack, which has got everything in it, like it's got too much, you don't need it. It's all bullshit. Like you need, any window, anywhere, anytime. Those little goosenecks and everything, especially for a window cleaner, maybe not for a pressure washer person, I've got to stay on context of your question, Doug. But those little things are there for that. So
I'd like to add also. Let me interrupt one second, Perry, because there was a comment on here that said I just don't like window cleaning, and I never liked window cleaning myself. But what I found, one of the reasons that I like talking about this is that whenever I went with, and I think I went with a Tucker RODI system, and then a reach it pull and a constructor brush. And I know you make RODIs. There's several people that do. I mean, but I'm saying you can interchange these parts.
All the same. All the same.
But I went in and what it started doing was cutting our net time on the buildings as well too. Because if you think about it, you're washing a building, and what's the number one problem we have with washing correctly is those damn window rinsings, especially it seems like with the booster pump, or you get some flow through on your ball, anything where you get the windows sometimes just get a haze on it. And my guys, I'm sitting there watching them spend 15 minutes a window on some third story windows and second story windows trying to get it. And I retrained them. I was able to say, look, do a light rinse on the building, get the bleach and the soap off the building, maintain a steady, just rinse the windows as much as you rinse the siding. Just don't go extra on the windows. And then this guy's going to come back with the water-fed pole and hit those to get any haze off of it. And it was an amazing time savings. I mean, we were knocking 30% off time of jobs.
Yeah.
But,
and I think that's what you're talking about there is exactly the second reason why people don't like windows, is because they take too long. A lot of window cleaners, if you go back, like when I started, window cleaners would work for $60 an hour. Now maybe it'll be $100 an hour, $120 an hour. And they don't get, and I was just looking at it saying, window cleaners are the worst paid external contractors. Like roof cleaners are getting $600, pressure washers are getting $153 to $300, whatever. And I'm going, there's something wrong with the window cleaning tools and the technique and everything, and then I looked at it and nobody had changed it for 50 years since Tucker bought out a Tucker brush. Not one innovation in the industry. Why? Because the perception was window cleaners were cheap, wasn't worth doing the effort. They wouldn't buy anything new, blah, 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 blah. Like we've disproven all that. And I was passionate to disprove it. But I just looked at what you guys were earning and saying, window cleaners, if we get it right, window cleaners should be able to earn that. And there was a post on my Facebook the other day where he said, I've done my record, $900 an hour, but we regularly get 400, the same as you guys. You get the perfect job and perfect tools, perfect layout, perfect, everything's perfect. And the guy, the perceived value was exactly there. And if somebody else didn't have all your tools and didn't have all your stuff, they wouldn't be able to do it for that. So it wasn't a rip-off, it was a market price. But we always get guys coming back $400 an hour, $500 an hour, $600 an hour, not on every job, but certainly on external only, where you.
I think we just lost Perry.
Perry just blipped.
But you got to remember, Perry is in China, so I don't know how their internet is there, but apparently it's not working at this very second. So there is that. So Palm Tree's asking, how well does it work if you take out the total dissolved solids coming from the home into your buffer tank? Will that produce good results?
Works out very well to do that, Palm. I know. Oh, Perry's back.
Perry's back. There he is.
Well, let's let Perry read that question and ask.
So Perry, the question is, how well does it work if you take out the total dissolved solids coming from the home into your buffer tank? Will that produce good results when washing homes?
Okay, so this is where Reach It Workshop comes into its own on YouTube, because there's complex answers to every small, tiny question. And I do geek out on it because there's a lot of what ifs, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you talk about America, you talk about, areas where the water, the TDS of the water, like here where I live in Ningbo, China, the TDS of the water is 35, mm-hmm. And you got places in Arizona where the TDS is 1200, So the question is, what's the water that's coming out of the home? And if it's over 150, let's say, then you would take the TDS out. The majority of the water you would take out of the TDS with a reverse osmosis membrane system. If you're not using much pure water, you could just buy an under sink one, put a diversion. Like we're all handymen, right? Put a diversion, put a tank outside the window, or run a little line to a tank in the garage or shed or whatever. You don't have to go and buy a $2,000 one to get some pure water for some work, if you didn't want to. Capture your rainwater. That's another very low TDS water. And then if you can get a volume of pure water, you can transfer it into a buffer tank. And then I would have, obviously you've got a pump to get it from the buffer tank through the hose and tube up against gravity. If you're going up to 2, 3, 4 stories, whatever, it's 5 PSI per story. Just remember that. And then, so your little motor, your little 12-volt motor is going to be looking after that. And then I would always put your DI tank, your deionizing tank, after the buffer tank, because as a rule, buffer tanks are probably not polypropylene. They're probably PET or something, or even a different plastic. So you might find if you put 0 TDS water into a buffer tank, it may leach the plastic out, because all plastics leach plasticizer. So it may leach the plasticizers into the DI. DI is very aggressive to take minerals into solution. And that has nothing to do with taking dirt into suspension. When we clean windows and somebody tells you DI water makes a difference, or parts per million or parts per billion, is all BS. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got no contact. Well, because we're not taking minerals off windows. We're taking dirt off windows.
Correct.
Right. So
so we're actually introducing minerals onto windows.
And then the water, the low solids water is dry and clear on there.
That's the reason. That's the total reason. You can buy a $99 tank or a $10,000 system. No difference. The water quality is exactly the same. The result is the same.
I know of 2 different million and multi-million-dollar companies that actually fill their tanks, Palm Tree, with RODI water. Now, these don't have little pull-around RODI waters. I mean, I know one company that fills, they literally have a RODI that's the size of half of a semi-Connex on there. Yeah. They pull up trucks underneath it in the morning. They pull a lever and it dumps out 800 gallons per truck. Pretty big deal. I know another guy up in Iowa that makes 600-700 gallons a time for his trucks on there. And they're pretty miserly about, using it, not just letting the pole spit water like we do. He's going to turn it off at a pinch valve, but they use this. They actually wash with it as much as they can, or rinse with it as much as they can, and do that. So you can port pure water to a job site. And then the other thing, and it actually works really well. If you just literally did all your house washes with pure water in rinses, you probably wouldn't have to clean windows that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and the other thing that I wanted to point out is you brought this up about rainwater.
So, you can ask me something, when do we not need your stuff? And I'm going to be fine because this is Spray Wash Academy.
But being the ability to port, first off, create, second off, port that much pure water around causes its own problems too.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you're here. You brought this up about rainwater. I hear contractors so mistakenly, so many times telling building managers that, see that white stuff on the windows right there, and the white stuff that's on the lower third of the window, that's from the rainwater. No, it's 100% not, because like Perry said, rainwater, clouds are as an amazing of a purifier as dirt is, honestly. I mean, rainwater's pure coming out of the sky. It's what you're seeing whenever you get that white haze on the bottom third of the window is the rain hitting the sill and bouncing up and collecting minerals from that raw concrete on a sill, or brickwork on a sill, or dirt that's on a sill, and splashing it back up on the window on there. That's not from the rain itself. It's from the bounce.
That's if you only see it there. If you see it across the whole window,
Right.
chances are the building is got oxidized stucco,
and it's leaking
Something else
out.
is going on.
oxidized mortar. So basically it's a hard water. They call it a hard water stain. It's not hard water per se, but it's lime based. It's lime based, calcium based. But that comes off very easily with something like Radial Rocker or the new Radial Ultralight. With a scrubby pad on it.
Right.
Very, very fast. And it looks like a difficult job. It looks like a glass restoration job, and it's a window cleaning job. And those are the types of jobs where the customer can't see out their windows for 4 stories high. And you can say that'll be $6,000 and you do it in a day.
Right. And they're amazed at you.
And you guys could pre-treat it if you're doing the building and, make sure that you've got something that's going to, break down the calcium a bit better, in advance or whatever like that. I don't know chemicals very well. This guy is spot on. G is.
Yeah, that's Gene O'Neill.
That's Gene O'Neill. He comes through his Facebook.
Gene O'Neill? Okay.
That's
Well, I
Gene
love
O'Neill,
Gene.
yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. The $99 guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Who gets their windows cleaned? Those with money, generally, and don't look at window cleaning as an add-on service. Try selling window cleaning and upselling the pressure washing.
100%. And again, we go back to that other question, Doug. Whoever raised the which one? No, I think it was Ray. Which one's better? The pressure washer adding window cleaning and then advertising window cleaning, because he gets to see a site where somebody's proud and has got money. Because the average window cleaning would be, $500 a house, $1,000 a house, whatever. And then he gets to see everything else which needs doing. And there are guys who says, look, if you want to sign a schedule for me to clean up everything, I'll do the window cleaning for free. Then he knocks out the window cleaner.
Right. There are several guys that do that, where they'll do it, you do everything, and then if you do everything, we'll do your windows at no extra charge.
Yeah,
and
especially
a lot of times they'll say that they don't even have to do anything; they just do an extra rinse, and it's just done.
Yeah, especially if it's window cleaning lead, because there'll be 3 quotes coming in, so he wants to take out the other 2, right?
Exactly. So,
yeah.
The way I figure it, if I was to do this, I also wouldn't be as concerned about a banjo filter or contaminants getting into my pump. I would probably get better flow. Yeah.
You would. I mean, but the problem is you're going to go through. It's going to be pricey to go to do that much RO or DI water on a daily basis. I mean, you're adding a substantial cost, I would say, to your setup. And the other thing
what
too
we do is we promote.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Perry.
You. Well, see, you can also rent a Culligan tank if you wanted to.
Yes.
You can rent for a short term kind of thing.
I think what's going on here, just so everybody knows, I think there's a lag between Perry and us. And so most of the time things are instantaneous and we can just go. But here where we seem to be stepping on each other, it's because I think there's an overlap. So everybody knows what's going on.
I'm on the exact other side to the world, right? Of the world. Yeah.
There you go.
Like if you dug a hole in your backyard, you could turn up in my backyard.
There you go. And you'd catch COVID somewhere along the way.
Yeah, that's right. So the other thing, like we have a technique called the drive-through car wash method, and it's such a simple parallel, but it's actually 100% true. And we have lots of guys who are in hard water areas who don't want to or can't afford to get into reverse osmosis, demineralization of the water or pre-demineralization of the water. So we sell them a DI tank and we say, use the drive-through car wash method. So when you go through a drive-through car wash, you basically, they wash your car with tap water and brushes. Right, that rings a bell. And then you pay an extra $1 and you get the spot-free finish. Oh, okay. So you get your tap water, scrub all the brushes and frames, wash everything perfectly and properly, and then what's left on the window is only the minerals from the hard water that you're using. That's all. Everything else is clean. So then you attach your DI tank And because radial brush is on glass rinse, corner to corner, edge to edge, top to bottom, so you never take the brush off. And you use the radial techniques, so you know the fastest way across. Just one pass across the window, 5 seconds per window, no matter how big it is. You know, it's 5 seconds per window, and you've used the DI water to remove the remaining minerals that might be there, pardon me, as a result of the hard water that you've used.
Absolutely.
Did I say that too fast?
Yep.
Wild West is saying you can only dig down 8 miles, just so you know.
Yeah, that's true. True. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna drown if you come and see me. And if you don't drown, you'll burn.
Yeah. Drown in molten lava.
Yeah. There you go. So,
have you eaten any undercooked bats lately?
Yeah.
I tell you, there's a lot that none of us are ever going to know yet, I don't think.
So it sounds to me like you're more on the mechanical versus the chemical side.
100%.
100%.
Agitation. Glass is a very smooth surface. There's only a few things on glass that need chemical, which we would call glass restoration, which is one restore, like an acid, taking off hard water stains. The hard water stains, as a rule, that need to be taken off with acid are hard water stains created by ground sprinklers. So it's the hard water stains that you see on the first floor, the ground floor. Yeah. So if you see hard water stains on the second floor, it's most likely from the building facade and most likely come off with a high agitation brush like Radial Rocker or the Ultralight now, So, but ground floor, that is just the sprinkler going on every day and putting calcium and putting calcium and putting calcium and putting calcium. Calcium bonds, and ultimately it bonds to the glass. That needs to be taken off with an acid.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, Leslie was just saying, I think you clicked off of that, but best thing we did to carry our own pure water for doing windows on house washes. 100%.
And he uses, so Flow Red is our little very small footprint. So
I was trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah.
So say that again.
It's a small footprint. It's a beautiful little machine. Some people think it looks like an espresso machine. Other people think you can make meth with it. But it's it's 22 inches by 16 inches by 32 inches high. Okay. The footprint is 16 by 22.
And so when you get pulled over by the police and you say it's for making pure water, they're going to say, oh, so pure water. That's what we're calling it nowadays. Got it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a really beautiful machine because I've always believed if you look at pure water machines, most of them are a square inch steel tube, bent, welded with a plate and an axle put on it. And then you pay not too much difference to the price of our system, but like our system is a little bit more these days. We're working on that, but it looks stunning, because the thing which is doing the work are the filters that are in the RO, right? That's what's doing the work. Like the machine that you're buying is not doing the work. It's the filter, whether you get it from Axion or whether you get it from us or whatever. That's what's purifying the water or demineralizing the water. So when you buy a pure water system, you're buying a housing, a frame, like something to wheel it around, like wheels to put on it, kind of thing. And so that's what you look as what's your value for money. And I always feel strongly, and I think the pressure washing guys and AC Lockyer and guys like that also work on the same principle, that what you have as a piece of machinery makes an impression on the customer. And the better that piece of machinery looks, the more likely the customer is to perceive a value for money for a high ticket service price.
That's exactly it. One of my trucks, I was on a job once, and the truck, truck was built out, had electric reels on it. I mean, it looked really, really nice. And I mean, the customer was so impressed, and he was like, "Man, what do you have into that thing? About $100,000?" And I mean, I didn't want to tell him what I actually had into the truck, but it just, the impressiveness of what I had or how it appeared to him was really what got more jobs and wanted them to, have us coming back, kind of a thing. So having those impressive looking tools, even though you can have something completely different that will do the same job, some of it is perception, like we talked about last week.
And then you get your money back. You get your money back because the that's where you get your money from buying beautiful. All of our stuff looks beautiful. I'm a salesman, from my whole life career, and I understand that packaging and presentation and, I'm not dressed very well today for you boys, but, you guys never dress that well for me.
As long as we don't stand up, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, if you can answer this one. So products like EBC Glide or Agent Halt, what is it that they're doing that's making the windows come out nice without the added extra scrubbing of the windows, kind of a thing?
Right. So they can give you a surfactant, right? That'll break the surface tension of the water and make the water run off the glass faster than water, right? So it'll run off faster. And I guess that you'd have to look and see, whether that predominantly works under certain TDSs, TDS 200 or something like that. I'm imagining. I don't know. I've got no idea. But the challenge with it, whilst you'd say the window is clean, like from a window cleaner's perspective, you can't have any bee poo left on it. You can't have artillery fungus left on it. You can't have paint overspray left on it. You can't have, all the debris that cooks on clay. There's debris that cooks onto glass or sticks onto glass or is waxy on glass or sticker residue or stickers. So a window cleaner would take all those off. So that's where the agitation, is like your agitation would be the chemical that you use in the soft wash and whatever pressure might be used against the glass if there is any. And that would be the cleaning process. And then the EBC will give you a rinsing function, which would leave less water, less beads of water, because it's the bead of water that has the minerals in it.
Gotcha.
Well,
the bead evaporates in a circle and leaves whatever minerals, whatever total dissolved solids are in that bead. They can't evaporate, so they stay on the glass, and that's your spot.
And I would say the Glide is probably working on the principle of helping it dry easier and quicker and better, because there's some
like kind of
alcohol
washing
in
machine, dishwashing machine stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And like which would be actually kind of similar to the concept of the rinse aid that we put into our dishwasher.
Exactly.
It makes it while you're Colgate and you put the little bottle of rinse right or whatever it is in there. And then the Agent Halt has a little bit different process, because you're actually got a chelation process that's going in there that's killing that bleach and encapsulating that and breaking it down, so you're removing the bleach. And then you also got some waxing going on those windows as well, that has, and some rinse agents in Agent Halt. And people think, oh, it's sodium thiosulfate. It's not. I mean, it's in there, but there's multiple processes on the Agent Halt. You know what I mean? Hey, here's a spoiler, guys. The guy that makes Agent Halt uses Reach It brushes. So I mean, it's not necessarily a one size fits all. I mean, we did a lot of windows using Agent Halt. We did a lot of windows using Reach It, brushes as well too. Yeah. So it really depends on what you can do and what your customer wants, and that's going to dictate it. Because if we were just doing a rinse down of the windows on there, which we've done tons of time, that was one fee. Now, if we were going to have to mechanically agitate the windows on there, that's a different fee.
Yeah, that's your basic definition is contrast effect versus clean, and commercially contrast effect is often enough. The property manager knows that the next day, as soon as you leave, the windows are going to start getting dirty again. And I think that there's another one that, from ground to 2 or ground to 3 stories is about as much as anybody can see of a building that's walking past a building. So, keeping the first 2 stories perfectly clean is one principle. I call it the pride clean. And then above the second story, unless there's a restaurant, above the second story, it's only the tenant looking out. So the tenant's paid money to have a view that, they go up to the 22nd story. They want to have a look out the window, so that they can see something. And if it's dirty all the time and they're paying big bucks for the top story, they're going to get shitty with you. So that's, everything above 2 stories pretty much is, or 3 stories anyway, is inside out. And then contrast effect is enough. And you look at how little time a window cleaner spends on a window when he's cleaning commercial buildings. He just, one mop pass, one squeegee pass done.
Yeah, he's not sitting. They're not getting overly anal about that and going, "Oh, now maybe on a new."
Yeah, he's not. His fingernail and taking off the bee poo.
Yeah. I mean, it's speed on there. Window cleaners are. Somebody had asked me to tell a joke, and I'm kind of joking on this, and I'm kind of not. But window cleaners themselves are a really, really interesting lot to hang around. And I've seen I don't know if you remember the comedian Emo Phillips, and he had this great bit where it was like 2 Protestants were talking to each other, and it was like, oh, you're a Protestant. Yeah, I'm a Protestant too. Oh, are you a Latter Day Reformed Protestant? Yes, I'm a Latter Day Reformed Protestant. Oh, and then they found like 20 similarities, that they had. And then finally he's like, so do you take communion on Wednesdays or Thursdays? Oh, we do it on Thursdays. Oh, you're a heretic. I hate you. They had all, and window cleaners are really, really similar. I mean, I've seen guys cuss each other out like, your mother's a tramp kind of thing, because they like black diamond rubber as opposed to Ettore rubber. I mean, they get a little crazy on stuff.
Yeah.
I think that it's the same way really in the soft wash and pressure wash industry too, where it's just we're all just kind of a different breed altogether. A lot of type A personalities and type Z personalities.
We should just as much as we do business with other people and we get brand loyalty for our service-based brand. And then those of us that are making products, we get product-based loyalty or chemical-based loyalty, for the guys who do chemicals. Just to accept that you have a loyalty. It's a beautiful thing. It's not like, let's say it's not to reach it. I've got no problem with that. Yeah. I got no problem. I love capitalism. I'm very much, capitalism is only about one thing, choice, right? Mm-hmm. And you watch what's going to happen with Amazon, the amount of choice as they take out all the small businesses and all the small product developers and the different flavors and everything, and say you get all your food delivered to you. You watch how the range and the variety of food that you'll be able to get delivered will get less and less and less. You want raspberry jam, you get this raspberry jam. You want strawberry jam, you get this strawberry jam. You'll get raspberry and strawberry jam, but you won't be able to buy the one which has got whole raspberries in it, or the one which is organic, or the one that comes from a single produce farm. All that stuff will be gone. Like this is, So anyway, I don't know where it's going.
No, I mean, and I'm glad you're segueing into this, because you present a very unique perspective, Barry, being there, where you are and seeing. I mean, what are you seeing? Let's spend a minute talking about supply chain, if you would, and then also a little bit talking about, where you see the future of the future of product development and things happening
in China.
I would suggest to you that I am living in your future right now. Right, that what you see in China, people call it Communist Party, Communist CCP, and Communist China, and all that. This place is more capitalistic than my experiences in Australia and New Zealand. Right, it's capitalism with socialist/communist principles. The family, if you listen to Putin's last speech, he's pushing the family, no parent one, parent two stuff. That's not going to happen here. Transgender's not going to happen here. Boys are boys, girls are girls. That's pretty much the culture. It's not going to change here. So there's a lot of that movement there, on this side of the world, which is, back to Christian values, where they've got Buddhist values, but the values are pretty much the same, as far as, how things happen. So that's interesting to be I'm in the communist, country, and I'm being exposed to traditional values that become, which I grew up with as a Christian. I married as a virgin. Like, I find that bizarre now, you know, but,
Mhm.
you know, so I think there's that. Then from a supply chain point of view, I think I sent Ray a couple of things a couple of months ago to say, look, this is what's happening. You know, we have increased cost of materials because there's a real blitz on certain materials like aluminum, you know, all the metals, right? All the metals are up. Oil and gas, most people don't necessarily know that all plastic is made from oil. All plastic is made from oil.
Mhm.
Okay, now you see sugarcane plastic and wood pulp plastic, but the treatment of those
Kettle corn.
yeah, corn plastic and all that. Like when you actually, you know, Google away and go to Patagonia and see why they don't use bamboo fabric, right, compared to the tencel fabric which they use, is because the acids and the process to convert bamboo to rayon compared to eucalyptus trees. Eucalyptus trees can be done with water. Bamboo's done with acid. You know, like so. There's a lot sitting underneath the side. So everything's and then when you see those plastics, they're usually mixed with oil-based plastics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you buy this is a wood-based, it'll be 40% wood-based plastic with 60% plastic because plastic, fantastic plastic. If you want to be, by the way, if you want to be environmental, you want to use plastics that have got carbon and hydrogen molecules. You can just Wikipedia the plastic, you know, PET. Have a look at the chain. If it's just C's and H's, it's a clean plastic. It holds 95% of its energy. It can be reconverted into another product with 5 to 10% energy, right? Mm-hmm. The ones that are deadly are the ones with a Cl in them. Mm-hmm. Chlorine. We know about chlorine.
Mm-hmm. Chlorine, what's that?
You know, you mentioned that. You know, we had a big rush. What was it? 15 years ago, when I was farming up in South Georgia, and that was whenever President, I guess, Bush and they did the big thing on ethanol at that point, made a huge push towards ethanol, and they started taking our crops out of South Georgia, and people that were normally doing cotton and peanuts were now going to corn because of the corn ethanol. Well, the truth is that it actually there was a net loss of fuel from making corn ethanol. I mean, it sounds wonderful, but we're burning our food supply. We're taking away other farm commodities that we need and turning it into fuel. And second off, for every gallon of ethanol that was produced, it took like 2.3 gallons of diesel to create it. Guys, this isn't working. I know it's a feel good. I know it's a warm and
warm and fuzzy.
It's a warm and fuzzy because I'm using a plant to do this, but you're actually just making matters worse.
That's how I feel about the oil production nowadays, where it's like the United States probably makes, you know, has the cleanest way of converting the oils to fuels and all that kind of stuff. Yes. We're going to buy from another country just so that because we want to be environmentally friendly, but we're using a non-environmentally friendly country to create this substance for us. And then we have to ship it all the way over here, burn all that fuel, bringing it. It doesn't make any sense.
It's insanity. I saw the great video the other day of, there was a tire dump. I think it was in Saudi Arabia. And the way that they disposed of their tire dump was literally pour diesel on it, throw a match on it. I mean, it was acres and acres and acres of tires that made this mushroom cloud of horrible things. And we handicap ourselves. You know, we handicap ourselves with the Paris Climate Accords. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be responsible stewards of the environment, but it's like whenever we're the only ones doing it, and China's throwing an extra 500,000 cars on a year over there and aren't subscribing to the same protocols that we are, really, we're a drop in a bucket compared to your society that you're in right now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, since you're in China, do you feel like China is, I'll say, environmentally responsible to a certain degree?
Oh, completely. Since 2018. So what happened is in 2018, so There's a couple of things to point out, but in February 2018, there was the BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? That's an alternative to the World Economic Forum, right? So 85% of the world will end up in the BRICS system, and 15% of the world will end up in the WEF if it goes the way it looks like it's going right now, which is a disaster, right? The world's a disaster right now. Mm-hmm. So they had the BRICS conference down south in China, and then they closed every single factory in China to give blue sky. Before then, it was like, I used to tease people when I got here. Do you know that when you look up in New Zealand, we see stars? There are stars up there. I used to tease people because you never saw stars, right? Here. Now you can see stars from the city, even with all the lights around, right? So they closed every single factory. The EPA police, there are videos of police, like hundreds of police walking down a street, peeling off 2 at a time into every building, right? And then shutting every single factory down in China. And then everybody had to apply. They did an investigation. They must have had the army in there, right? Because the number of people that they used to do it. And then you basically, your doors got taped closed until you'd passed the EPA filtrations, water quality, all that sort of stuff, and then ever since we've had blue skies, ever since.
And you look at the pictures back in the day of COVID, early COVID, and you would see literally an army of Chinese workers walking down the street, with foggers and trying to get ahead of things on there. Where in America we're still sitting here scratching our heads, going, and you couldn't. That's kind of the one nice thing. And you talk about the capitalism that takes place over there, but at the same time, you do have that communist part of the government that's able to make crap happen. Frankly,
If you understand what you just said, Xi Jinping said to Biden, "You can never beat China because you need consent."
Yep.
You need two sides to agree before you can do anything, and I don't. That's what he said when Biden got in, right? Or something, words to the effect of,
right.
I use my legalese, right? So, so what happens here is that at the moment it is for the people. It is, there's suppression of. There's an awareness, like right now, Xi Jinping's about to be re-elected for the third time, which is history. Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, and then this guy might be the third time that somebody's gone past their 2 5-year terms, right? Mm-hmm. And that may happen or may not happen, but it's most likely to happen this month sometime. And so now, okay, everybody's a little bit aware. Don't go blah blah blah, right? about the party. This is the time to say don't talk so loud. But the rest of the time, we can talk quite openly with anybody from China about what they don't like about the party, what the vibe is, is it looking after the people? And most people don't understand, but there are 5 factions to the party, which is kind of like a weirdness of how we run parties, right? So there's a faction, which is oil and gas, and another one which is Shanghai, and there's another one for blah, blah, blah. And these factions are vying for control of the party, inside the party. So there's that sounds like our form of global for, as in big democracy, right? Is that there's movement in amongst the ranks. There's things moving. It's not just Xi Jinping. It's not like Kim Jong-un, right? He's the grandson of the founder of the party, and he is the leader of the party. There's no faction.
And over here, we've kind of got the same thing where you've got, part of one of our parties going, okay, well, the old saying of boys have penises, girls have vaginas. No, you're a racist or a sexist if you say something like that at this point anymore. We started out with, you're not going to have that over there. I mean, over here, we've gotten to a point of civil liberty and everybody's thought is
Sure,
valid out there, and now we don't even know which bathroom that we're supposed to go into anymore. I mean, we've got
I saw a post, I think it was yesterday, that kind of struck me too, and it's so it was about drag queens teaching kids and all that, and it's like,
I saw that one. Yeah.
what right mind is a drag queen person that wants to be teaching to kids and talking to kids and so it's like, why do you want them to do it? But who is in that mind frame who does that, who wants to be teaching and showing and doing these to these kids? I mean, maybe we're going down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, but personally, I feel like, I mean, we shouldn't have a Republican Party. We shouldn't have a Democrat Party. We shouldn't have an independent party. We're just Americans, right? So forget about the party lines and all that. Vote with what's right and what's wrong, because you can't tell me that every single Democrat feels exactly this way, the Democrats' line and the Republican. It's not. You're just following your party line, even though your party's stupid.
What's happening? What's happening, from my opinion, is you're experiencing the most insane level of divide and conquer, right? The family, like if you go back to when we're young, everybody's front door faced the street and the fence was 2 feet high. And the kids played in the street together. Then there was some stranger danger stuff that happened, and houses started getting built with the door on the side facing the driveway. Then we start putting up 6 feet high fences around ourselves. Then we make divorce easy, right? Then we start selling. You can't have a boys' day out because there might be a girl among you, and you can't have girls' day out because there might be a dude right in there. So you can't say this and you can't say that. And if you want to solve the gender thing, I mean, get rid of urinals. That's the only thing. Like, if you think about it, the only thing about a male bathroom that's different is a urinal. Okay, take all the urinals out. We'll pee in the pan.
That's urinal. That's urinal for you American people.
Urinal.
And for those of you out there that have been inundated with a clicking sound that's coming, that's why my wife took away clicky pens. And so I've been sitting here. It's a bad habit of mine to do this.
Right.
And I didn't realize, but right here is where my microphone is.
Oh, I blamed it on Harry because I am
so sorry for doing that to y'all.
So nice.
Yeah. My bad.
Okay, back to supply chain, right?
Yeah.
But look, I am probably one of the few people that everybody gets a chance to see a second view, see America from outside. I follow the news every day. You know, I'm a big Tucker Carlson fan. I listen to him every day. I like where he's at on 98% of what he says. I think he's a real patriot, you know, and he's really aware of what's happening. On the other side, you know, I live in a socialist culture. I believe in free education. Which is something which you guys haven't had for a long time. I believe in free healthcare, which where I come from, you know, is now you got to pay a little deposit or whatever. But if I had a friend here in China, for example, a Greek guy, Greek Israeli, and he had a triple bypass, beating heart, which means you need a senior surgeon. You can't have a trainee surgeon with a beating heart valve transplant. No insurance. 14 days in first class room. He's alive at the end of it. Several years later, total cost, no insurance. None of us have got insurance over here. Total cost $15,000 US.
Wow.
15000. That's $1 million in America.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say that. I was thinking $350,000 on there.
Right. Yeah, like that.
I mean, and honestly, to bill to the insurance companies, it would have been $1 million, you know, but you probably could pay cash.
Yeah. They would if they'd have had
based on
insurance,
that
they would have jagged them. Yeah. But that's just basically at cost. You know, this is how much the surgeon gets paid. This is how much the hospital costs per room, per square meter. This is, you know, at cost plus 30%. That's the hospital system, you know.
Well,
So,
are you seeing,
supply chain.
are y'all back up to speed and going? I mean, have y'all caught up with supply? I mean, what's the holdup at our supply chain right now, Perry?
Well, Los Angeles is the biggest problem, right? So we can get our product, like we have warehouses, and we've got 2 warehouses in LA, but we can get, if somebody buys direct from us and we don't have it in the warehouse and we fly it, we can get it to America in 2 days or 3 days. It's a 12-hour flight. That's it. Shanghai to LA, Shanghai to San Fran, right? That's 12 hours. So we can get it there. That delivery, once it gets to America, could take another 7 days. Right? It's got to go to New York or down to Florida. Oh, Florida's probably 24 days now. But, so the issue, the biggest supply chain issue is happening inside America, which I believe is something which is being played at a political level to slow down and cause this discomfort that you guys are experiencing. Because there's no real logic for it. FedEx used to work. Why doesn't it work now? UPS used to work. Why doesn't it work now? Like that. So, but before that, then from a costing point of view, a 20-foot container to go from Shanghai to LA used to cost $2,500 US.
Yeah.
During COVID, it went to $20,000. One container. So whatever's in that container, you're just getting blown out, right? And then, and now it's back to maybe $8,000. So it's still way over. Then, the Trump tariff, the 25% tariff, when that tariff came on, so any product that attracts duty in the United States of America, which will be anywhere from 5 to 100%, then attracts a tariff, which is 25% on top. So that when that first came in, those of us who are experts in buying and everything, we all went to our manufacturers here and we said, look, we need to suck this up because we don't know how long it'll go for. It's probably just a political play, right? And then most people waited for the next election to see if it would be taken off, under the Democrat leadership. But then since then, what's happened is all the factories have gone, well, we looked after you during that tariff thing where we took on, our share of that tariff so that the American consumer price didn't go up as a result of the tariff. We want that money back now, right? So that's part of that. That's one of the inflationary forces, is that the price rises that my mates are dealing with. Most of my mates work for, corporations, multi-million-dollar companies, and so they're dealing with, 15% price rises, 20% price rises, like that. And then 3 months later, the guys are coming back for another 15%.
Yeah.
Metals have gone up, plastics have gone up,
Yep.
like that. So you've got this massive, and I think that's part of it is to make China less competitive, because it's extremely competitive. Like I pay my workers 4,000 local money per month. Divide that by say 7. What's that? 42, 600 a month. Something like that,
Right.
And of course, I've got on costs. I've got to pay their housing savings plan. So you've got to give 12% of their income into a savings plan, which gives them towards the deposit on their home. We've got to pay their medical insurance. Got to pay their other insurance, accident. Like there's loads of insurance. Maybe it's 1.5 times. So my cost is 6,000. I pay similar to you guys. I think 1.5, something like that. But it's very competitive, but when I got here, it was half that. 2,000 would be enough,
Right.
So you don't feel like some of the supply chain issues, because I still look at that. They talk about the container ships being just stuck out there, and I don't know where that stands anymore. But I think part of our supply chain issues really is the workforce, where everybody pretty much complains about not being able to find workers. So if you can't find workers to move product, that's part of the issue.
And this is what America did very differently to what China did. So, we're capitalists, right? And we believe government, leave my business alone, right? Pink Floyd style, right? Yell and scream it to the rafters, leave my business alone, right? So what happened in America, everybody's in trouble, because they got some lockdowns or whatever, and everybody's going, government, like, come and give me money. And I go, that's communism. That's communism. Like, government look after me, right? I pay my taxes. You give me some money. And what happened in China is that we're not allowed to terminate a single person, right? I terminated one guy. I hated him. So I said, I'm going to get rid of him. 7 days later, I'm in the arbitration court. 7 days later, right? I'm in saying you terminated somebody. It's against the law to terminate somebody during COVID. So nobody's allowed to be terminated. There's no subsidy from the government. Like we had some of our staff were in Wuhan, so they were 3 months in Wuhan. I had to pay them full salary for 3 months. They didn't do any work, right? It's like, you know, and I go, oh, that's capitalism, you know, like, you know, I make money out of my staff, and when the shit goes, oh, excuse my language, when things go awry, right, I got to suck it up, you know. And people go, well, what if you go broke? Well, everybody in China knows you've got to save money. You've got to have enough money to survive a disaster.
It's something we talk about all the time. You always should have a reserve sitting there ready and waiting for you in case something happens.
I mean, that's one of the things Dave Ramsey preaches. You know, you need your $5,000 buffer right there, and then go. You know, Oh, I had a technical question that we missed from Leslie earlier. What are the best? Nurse, what are the best tanks for storing pure water? Do you have a selection on that, Barry?
I don't believe in storing pure water. You can store RO water, but not pure water, not ultra pure. So don't store water after DI. Always use DI when you're using the water. But you can just get those 250-gallon chemical. Oh, here's me playing with something now. You can get those 250-gallon, you know, the cage tanks, the chemical tanks.
Just a PCO2
like the IBC tote type thing.
So really, any of those resin tanks will work for that.
Get two, one above the other. Use your reverse osmosis, 50-50 balance, and then put your pure water in the top one, put your wastewater in the bottom one, and then pump your wastewater into your pressure washing tank. So you got no water wasted.
Question: Why would you not? Why do you recommend not storing pure water that's been DI'd and RO'd?
Because DI water, the real function of DI water is in nuclear reactors, right? So we sell nuclear grade, right? It's charged to 15 ohms, 15 mega ohms. You can buy 18 mega ohms, but that's really the current nuclear grade for pulling nuclear isotopes out of whatever's happening inside a nuclear reactor cooling system, right? And that's the stuff which Japan's about to dump 1 million tons of radioisotoped pure water into the ocean right now, if they haven't started already.
What could go wrong?
From Fukushima, yeah. And they lied about everything up until then, and so they're going to, you know, like everybody expects, the poor fishermen are going to go, God, you know, we're going to end up with three.
I mean, from the island that's been under the attack by Mothra and Godzilla, I just don't think I would take that chance, you know.
Well, everybody on this side is really politically trying to stop it from happening, but they don't know what to do with the water. So anyway, the principle of deionized water is to capture to capture minerals, right? That are in solution and hold it. And the second reason is that if you're wanting to create a chemical, so if you look at Carlos, making a ZBC, right? He will have a concentrate, and the other ones, they'll have a concentrate. When they go to put 1 drop of concentrate into tap water, all the different minerals that are in the tap water want to interact with that right. Concentrate, right? The pure whatever it is, sodium bisulfite or whatever it is, right? Whatever you said, bisulfite, right? But so if you demineralize the water, so there's 0 parts per million, there is nothing in there except H2O molecules, and you put 1 drop. The Brownian motion, which is a tendency of all molecules to be in motion, and if you wake up in the morning and you see a beam of sunlight come through the window, a crack in the curtains, and you see little sparkling fairy dust, and you go, well, hang on, I haven't had any activity this morning in the bedroom, so why is there dust in the air? So but that dust will never settle. Same as COVID, Ray. That dust stays in the air because it's being bounced around. Well, it's that Brownian motion in demineralized water that will take those 3 drops and ultimately put it all the way through the tank of water without in theory, without obviously you can increase the speed of it with agitation. But so so and then we know that the plasticizers and all sorts of other things, the DI water, which you want to be ultra pure, wants to take minerals. As soon as it takes minerals from wherever and you use it to clean a window, whatever minerals are in those beads of water, as they evaporate, those minerals will not evaporate, so they'll be left on the glass. So it's safest to put the DI tank as you use. Just as you use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. I mean, you know, I know guys who've said who've done the cleaning with the ultra pure water, that how much less chemical they have to use out there, how much less soap, how much less bleach you have to use when you're soft washing something.
That's correct. That's a reason to use. That is a reason to use pure water, as compared to the pure water is doing some cleaning for me. It's not.
Right. And we're actually, you know, in my store, we're mixing blending some stuff at this point too, and we're using pure water on doing that because we won't have any reactions, you know, with what we're doing. Because you know, people don't realize this, but you know, your city water that you're dealing with, you know, it could fluctuate one day where it could be a 75 hardness and it could be 185 hardness the next day, just depending on what's going on at the pipes. Are they flushing the hydrants or anything that's stirring up sediments? Your water is always changing out there, and stuff wants to fight with each other. So whenever we go and mix what we're mixing, which I'm not at liberty to say at this point, we have to use a pure water system to do that.
Yeah. And if you Google, I recommend everybody to do this, like whatever, for any reason, even if you never intend to use pure water, but always Google water quality report, your town. Just Google that and look for the local water department. There's some of them you'll find as a private enterprise company, which is basically selling drinking water filters, and it'll have the bariums and the fluorides and the really toxic ones and the ratings of them. It'll have extracted the toxic minerals that are in red zone in your local water. But if you go to the local government website, that once a year or once a quarter, they have to put out a report, and then you can read through. And any word you don't understand, click look up and understand it, because. You know, if you talk about Flint, you know, like the Flint water, you know, like Flint is the worst case of what's going on. But I've looked up on behalf for some guys, we try and look up the hardness for them to see whether the water's super hard,
which is relatively easy to find.
Yeah. And hardness, we have a DI resin, which is a hard water mix, right? So basically you look up and you look at the total TDS. So it'll be called total dissolved solids, or TDS. And so let's say it's 500 in a hard water area, right? And then you look up the total sum of calcium hardness and magnesium, right? So if the total sum of calcium hardness and magnesium is greater than 50%, then you're going to get a longer life out of a 65-35 mix, cation, anion, DI resin. I'm geeking a bit, but if you go to Sydney, we don't have very much calcium in our water at all. So we used to clean windows. I used to make pure water systems, which were DI systems that were preset at 50 TDS for spot free.
Right.
And guys go, whoa, you know, that's sacrilegious. It's under 10. It's got to be under 10. It should be 0. And I'm going, dude, we cleaned tinted black windows with tap water, 100 TDS. You could never see the spot because the spot dried black, right?
Well, it's interesting what you're talking about. And just to add on it and show you like some practical layman stuff about what you're going on. So I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. We're sitting on top of the Floridan aquifer right here. Our Floridan aquifer is basically limestone caverns, limestone sandstone caverns. Right. Our TDS is only 150 to 180. Like we're right on the cusp of, do you need RO or DI, or can you just get away with RO? Right. But what is in our water, the minerals in our water is almost 100% calcium. So our stuff dries just crystal, you know, a white crystalline substance on there. So it matters. I mean, a 50 TDS of mine would look horrible, but if it was a 50 TDS of iron and magnesium, no big deal.
Yeah.
So all
the
TDSs
principle
are
of
not
what
the
is
same.
yeah, so guys understand what is a spot. A spot is something you can see, right? And why can you see it? Well, white is the reflection of all light. Black is the absorption of all light. So if something dries black, you can't see it. You might be able to see the shadow of it if everything around it was white, but you can't see it. So is the window spot free or is it not spot free? It's spot free, right? And then you look at the minerals in the top. If you're looking at the periodic table, the minerals in the top left-hand corner: sodium, salt, dries white; calcium, lime, chalk, dries white; magnesium, lithium. We don't want lithium, but those are the salts that dry white. You go the rest of the periodic table, very little of it dries white. Most of it is brown and black and blue, blue, black and stuff like that. So those, if you haven't got calcium, magnesium, sodium in your water, then chances are you don't need TDS 000, 010, 020, whatever. Yeah.
All that. Why are you having a hat problem tonight, Ray?
I don't know. It's like my head feels naked, and I feel like I need a hat on, but I'm not enjoying the way the hat feels right now. So I don't know.
I should have worn a hat. I'm having a bad hair day.
Well, what time is it right there, right now?
Oh, it's fine now. It's 9:30 in the morning.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
You're just getting started.
We play ball hockey on Monday nights. So and then which is like ice hockey. Have you ever seen it? It's a hilarious game, right? So it's like a ball hockey. Yeah. So it's ice hockey sticks, running shoes, sneakers, whatever, you know what I mean? Just normal shoes, normal running shoes. And then you have a ball and then a little net and then there's 5-a-side or 4-a-side or whatever in
field hockey.
In like an indoor.
It's
like an indoor hockey. An indoor soccer. You guys probably don't have that, but it's only what would it be? 100 feet by 40 feet would be the area.
Somebody's saying our version of deck hockey.
Oh, deck hockey, right? There you go. So we play that every Monday night, and then on the first Monday night of the month, we go out and have drinks afterwards. So
nice. So is it Monday there, or is it Tuesday there?
It's tomorrow here now. I got good news for you. Tomorrow's amazing. Yeah, it's feeling great.
Whenever I talk to Kim and Nick, and at Softwash Australia, it's always We get lots of buzzed phone calls from them, like where we're getting ready from work, they're up drinking, and so they're such dear friends of ours, and then they get the calls themselves of us, or Tanya and I being up drinking and bugging them. So in the morning,
they're probably my favorite Aussies, from the end. Well, they're one of the favorite of it. I mean, I've stayed at their home, they are seriously cool people.
Oh, they're amazing people.
Amazing,
I love my Nick Hopkins story of I'm sitting here and I literally get a phone call that says, good eye, mate. Is this Ray? Yes, it is. Hey, Nick Hopkins, Gold Coast, Australia. Hey, mate, looking at this soft washing thing you're doing, and we noticed in Tallahassee's like real similar here to Gold Coast, and thought me and Mrs. might pop in over there and see you for a bit if you'd like to talk about the soft washing thing. Okay. And I never thought of it until we chatted for a little bit, and I get another call back, and he's like, so made me phone arrangements, and we'd be coming in there about the September 15th. And okay. And I'm like, I kind of forgot to tell Tanya that a crazy person from Australia called me and is coming over, to America. Because I really, you talk to so many people and you don't know who's serious or who's not serious.
Yeah.
And I get this, I look at this, Tanya still reminds me, I had this look in my eyes of, this look in my eyes one night when we're out, and she's like, what? And I said, oh my God, I forgot to tell you. Later this week, we have a couple coming from Australia to shadow us for a week, and she's working with you. And she's like, "When are they coming?" I was like, "Oh, like in 2 days."
Classic.
And then, God, that started a friendship
Born, right?
that just spanned the years, you know?
Unbelievable people. Yeah, really worth
Great
knowing.
people.
Yeah.
You know, for us being three smart guys, we're not very smart. So since Perry lives in the future, why don't you just give us the stock? What happens?
Yeah,
in
what's
the
that?
Buy gold. Buy
Yeah.
gold.
Oh, there you go.
Physical gold, not paper gold.
Yeah.
I went 2 weeks ago, two Sundays ago. I carried the girls. Tanya was in New York, and I carried the girls to Postmodern Jukebox, which is just if you don't know Postmodern Jukebox, it was great because they come back with like they take modern day songs and they put like a 20s and 30s big band sound to it. You know, saxophones, clarinet. I mean, just stand up bass. It's just fantastic. And so they're going and they're talking about, you know, how times have changed, you know, from 1930 to 2020. And he's like, you know, cars are different and this is different. And the stock market, well, the stock market's really about the same. Because you think about the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So how's your inflation?
Horrible. I mean, Perry, we're getting stuff like monthly increases from Banjo Fittings. You know, from a supplier standpoint. Hey, you know, I know I gave you a quote last month on this, but if you're wanting this, it's going to be going. You know, it's up more because you know people will come in to me and say, "Well, golly, Ray, 2 months ago I bought a banjo from you and it was $30. Why is it $35 now?" Because we've had literally two month after month, you know, 7%, you know, price increases.
Yeah, virtually everything has gone through the roof. I mean, you know, coffee that used to cost $13 cost, you know, $21, you know, somewhere around there. And, you know, milk that used to cost, you know, $3.50 is now $6.50. You know, just everything is going up and getting crazy. And, you know, I hope everybody's enjoying this government that we've got.
It was part of the irony of me selling my company, you know, and telling, you know, yes, okay, well, if we sell this company for what we did when we did, and, you know, we invest this money and we'll have plenty of money when we officially retire to live really well. So, you know, my goal for the next 10 years is to not be an idiot and piss away everything that we sold it for. But that was the thought of back in April of 2021. It's not that case anymore because, I mean, I would dare say that what I sold that for is now worth about 30% less than what it was a year and a half ago.
I've done the same thing where I sat and I looked at where I was at, you know, if in a financial standpoint and, you know, the semi-retirement, because I'll never retire. I'm not that person, but you know, you looked at the financial situation, you're like, okay, everything's great. And then, you know, the administration, now you look at it and you go, you know, maybe even though everything's good, maybe it's not so good because of where everything is and just, you know, the way things are happening. So it does make you sit back and look at things a little bit differently now.
You know, part of one of the things that they do in you know, in America is, you know, so they took apart the inflation, you know, the studies they use to generate what is, you know, what's our inflation. They're saying, you know, inflation is up 8.5%. Well, it used to be, you know, this, the A, B, and C. So then they took away, I think they took away automobiles as part of it. Okay. So because automobile costs are really up around 30% across the board in a year and a half here. Okay. So they don't use automobiles to count it. They don't use housing to count it anymore because housing's up about 20-30%. They don't use that. They use some food prices and they use clothing, and then they keep taking away the durable goods. They don't use refrigerators and stuff anymore because they've outpaced the inflation figures that are bad. They've outpaced that, so they don't even want to show that. So
it would make it look so much worse.
I think the real inflation is probably about 15%, if not more, you know, year over year.
So do you know what the inflation rate is in Turkey?
What? Oh, it's horrible there. I mean, it's crazy.
83.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like when, and when I bought my first house, home loan rates were 17%.
Yeah.
I think when I bought my first house, I think we paid like 12.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very sobering conversation to have, but it's a very worthwhile conversation to have for the young guys. And when I say young, this is not like young 20s, right? This is young 40s,
Yeah.
These are the guys who weren't in an adjustment. And then because as a rule, nobody's got time to follow world events, is to understand that there is a major change happening in the world right now, which is basically a reset of the polarities of the world from a hegemony to a multipolar world or not, right? Which is basically, USA and NATO versus Russia will probably determine some of that. So at the same time as that's happening, inflation is happening, So this inflation could go really high. Like if it's not hyperinflation now, it could go to hyperinflation, and I think it's really important for guys to take just a small amount of time. I was talking to Harrison all day on Monday because we had a day off on a public holiday, or Sunday. That's right, Sunday's a work day here. Yeah, this is another funny thing about China. They give you a 7-day holiday, and then you have to work the next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's like we go, nah, we don't work Sundays, right? So as Harrison and I went to the pub and we talked about, we just tried to talk about the future and say that you have to have these serious, it's like talking about your own death and stuff like that. You got to buckle down into a zone and say, okay, how do I do so I don't freak out if these things go this way? If they don't go this way, hopefully I haven't done anything which limits me, on the way through, so you got to have this, if it doesn't go wrong, I haven't wasted my money. I haven't over prepped. I was going to talk to you about prepping. Because we could do some pretty cool prepping products, but so you don't want to overspend on prepping for disaster, and then but you don't want to not consider it because you got your head in the sand,
right?
Isn't it?
That's true. I mean, hey, I've got a couple of months of food hidden around this house somewhere. Unfortunately, you're talking about inflation. I heard, and I can hear
the chips under the cushion in the lounge.
Yeah, exactly. We had, funny. I actually was having a discussion with a friend the other day about this, and it was, you hate to sound like an absolute jerk about things, but when you prep on stuff, I know these guys that do a year's worth of food and this and that. But if the feces really ever hits the impeller out here, I have one thing that's probably more valuable than any food is I have a weapon. Okay. And it's very, very sad to say this, but with that weapon, whenever it comes to feeding my family, I can always go and get what I need to feed my family with that weapon out there, either from wild game or from somebody who does not have a weapon. And that sounds absolutely horrible and awful to say that, but I mean, that's the stark reality if we're talking about where true prepping
Worst case.
Whatever. We're talking Mad Max, Armageddon kind of, bad things, And I don't think the Armageddon ever comes between, USA and China kind of thing, because I mean, as much as we may be totally different, political systems, and it sounds like y'all are more democratic than we are at this point. We are also completely 100% interlinked. I mean, we are, China fails without US and US fails without China. I mean, it's the two of us, and we may have sticking points such as Taiwan. We may have things that we disagree upon, but then, you look at something like what's happening with Russia right now that, becomes an outlier.
That's the wild card.
That could suck everybody into that. And then suddenly sides are chosen that China might not even agree with, or we might not even agree with, but because of NATO or something like that, we get sucked into something horrific, and this is something,
when you get like Elon Musk got asked the other day, a couple of young guys interviewed him, right? And he got asked like, would you extend your life? Would you want to live forever? He says, no, I don't believe in that. I don't think so. And they said, why? He says, because old people never change their mind. They get stuck in their ways. And the world will never move forward if old people live to 150, And he said, it's bad enough now when you look at who's in our governments, he was talking about the American government, these people are too old to be, they're on the edge of their own mortality, per se. And
their decisions aren't going to affect them.
Well,
it's not going to affect them. And the war hawks are pretty much, pushing the way out of a financial disaster is to win a war.
The one outlier in American well, I'd say there's two outliers: Barack Obama and Donald Trump. Those were the outliers in American politics, but American presidents, because for so many times it was like, okay, you've served your party well, you've been a good senator, you've been a good governor, you've been loyal to the Democrat Party, you've been loyal to the Republican Party. Okay, it's time to run you for president. Look at Hillary Clinton. So many times it's not been based. Our presidential nominees have not been based upon qualifications. It's been based upon, their tenure in office. And okay, it's so-and-so's turn now. It's Hillary Clinton's turn now because she's been this, or, it was George Bush's turn now because he's done this. And, it shouldn't be that way. And it should be, how about the guy that fixes our mess? And so, we went Obama to one extreme, and then we went Trump to the other extreme on that. And I think we both figured out that honestly, probably both of them were the maybe wrong choices in their own respective ways. They were the right choices in some ways.
Right and wrong, right and wrong.
But yeah.
So you compare, for example, you compare that to China, and some people say I'm pro-China, but I'm very aware of China. So I've got, I can appreciate
practicality. You can be pro-China, pro this, pro that, but it's the practicality, and it's the 800 pound gorilla in the room. But like I said, we're so interlinked, the U.S. and China. Our mutual survival, because if we don't have, if America's not taking down Chinese goods, now suddenly China has a huge problem of, our economy goes to crap, China's economy goes to crap in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's not quite sure about this, pick your favorite brand, and then type .com.cn.
Yeah.
Right, like, so I believe in made in America. I believe in nationalism. I very much believe in nationalism. I believe in sovereignty of power and nationalism, right? But when I hear people go, Trump, and I was a Trump fan, turns up at who are the guys who make the washing machines?
Maytag.
No, begins with W.
Westinghouse or
Westinghouse.
Whirlpool.
Yeah.
Whirlpool. So he turned up at the Whirlpool factory, right? And he's going, made in America. Great. I'm all for that. I go whirlpool.com.cm, China, right? And there's Whirlpool, China, like Whirlpool. You go 3M, Johnson & Johnson, Ford, Chevrolet. It's all here.
The funny part, you talk about Ford, and how much of Ford? Even the whole thing of made in America is in some ways such a joke at this point, because it went from made in America to made in North America, and a lot of the stuff that's made in America is actually assembled in Mexico, or at least 80% of it. And then we slap the dash in it.
Well, they started that off with made in America, where it was actually assembled in America.
Yeah.
It was actually all the parts were made someplace else.
You look at the
assembled here, so it was made here.
I mean, look at the semiconductor shortage we're having. You know, apparently there's lots full of F-250s out there and Chevy 2500s, but we can't get the chips from, which incidentally are made in China, for this American-made vehicle. So the semiconductors, you know, can't actually go into the vehicle. So they assemble these things and then park it over there, and we'll get the parts as they come to it. I mean, it's this whole thing it's really amazing to think about it, of how the global economies are, and again, I go back to the outliers like the Russias, the North Koreas, the people that can do the saber rattling, and those are the ones that can really, really screw up. I mean, that's throwing a hand grenade out there at the Sunday picnic, because they don't necessarily have that much to lose, but boy, can they screw it up for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you'll find that they're the sovereign nations that don't want to change their culture too far towards the Western culture.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your 5 outliers, right? There's 5 countries left that are still sovereign nations that are not giving in, and then, so from a political sense, you watch the thing to watch is BRICS, BRICS, like to watch what BRICS is doing. And then you can see, you know, because you guys wouldn't see the global news, but, you know, the stuff that you're seeing on the Russia-Ukraine movement, 15% of the world's population is with that. And the stuff that we're seeing, 85% of the world's population is with that. Mm-hmm. Like, so there's 85% of the world's population is backing Russia. As horrific as that might sound to you guys for the news that you receive, right?
That's surprising to hear, because of what we see here. It sounds like the world is against, you know, what Russia is doing.
Not at all. Not at all. So so when I talk about like the world going like this, you know, you've got the inflation. Europe's got 1100% increase in energy prices already. Then say, because they blew up Nord Stream 2, right? It could go up another 50%, another 100%. You know, Saudi Arabia's gone on the Russian side, said we're going to reduce the amount of oil that we're going to produce.
That's impossible, because Biden fist bumped the crown prince a couple months ago. I mean, that's impossible to be happening.
And then somebody blew up Nord Stream 2, which kind of changed the game a little bit. And so you're playing this way, are you? Yeah. So
that'll be real interesting if they ever figure out who did that. I mean, was it us? Was it them? Was it somebody else? I mean, you know, and there's viable cases for anybody that you look at that, you know,
highly viable.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, and whoever did it needs to be held. And unfortunately, if it's the United States of America, whoever's cockamamie idea that was needs to be, you know, held accountable.
It's an environmental disaster. I mean, 800 million tons of methane released into the atmosphere in 3 days. Yeah. Something like that. Like that's every cow fart for 100 years, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. No, it's awful, you know, and Perry, you know, there's an old curse that they used to say, you know, the philosophers used to say that, you know, may you live in interesting times, and boy, we live in some interesting times right now, you know.
I don't think we live in interesting times. I think we live in crazy times.
Yeah. I heard the other day that we're actually on parity. And you talk about inflation, though. We're on parity right now with the euro. We've never been on. It's a 1-for-1 exchange with the euro at this point, which is. I
mean, Europe is facing. I mean, the secondary gain of the war on Russia. Or the war with Russia, however you want to put it, and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline being blown up. The secondary gain of that is that Europe will crumble.
Yeah.
And so the economic powerhouse that Europe was becoming, with the Germans being the major force of that, you know, that will be broken. And you think about this: if you wanted to take everybody's savings out of their bank account, you want to turn everybody from middle class to lower class, try increasing the basic things you need, food and energy, right? And so how much, what's your energy bill, right, Doug?
Oh, mine's $700 a month at my house. We have, you know, we're not very good. We're not very responsible stewards, but yeah.
Okay, so if you were in Europe right now, your energy bill to do the same as what you're doing now, which you have every right to do, right, would be $7,700 a month. It's gone up 1,100%. So all of a sudden, that's your bank account is just going to go like that.
Well, you know, at that point, and it's not only my bank account, because at that point now, I go and I turn my pool off. You know, my pool is no longer being run. So I'm going to cover it. I'm going to drain it. I'm going to cover it. My pool guy gets fired. Okay. He loses his job out there. I now start cutting my lawn again. I mean, we live on 3 acres. I have a tractor. I can cut my own grass. I choose not to. My yard guy, he gets fired, you know? I mean, whenever you start cutting back really has some profound effects on everybody that's in your tribe.
Yes.
It does, you know? I mean,
and
this is
what's horrific. Those are your trusted people. I mean, those are the people you trust in your home.
Who's our trusted people?
The people who clean your pool. Yeah, the people who clean your pool, the people that mow your lawn, the people that clean your house from the maid service, and all that people that you have a relationship with them, isn't it?
Yeah, and those are the people that you trust. Yeah,
and they're the ones you've got to get rid of. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And the guys that I see every week, I try to send business to them and try to. Yeah, I saw that in the news that the largest nuclear sub has gone missing. Haven't found it yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's scary times, you know. And this Ukraine thing, I honestly, you know, and you're right. We hear the news, we hear the the Rupert Murdoch news or the the CNN news, and it was like, Russia picked on Ukraine, but then you hear a few outliers here they are going, Ukraine kind of started this crap, or at least Ukraine provoked a lot of this going on with Russia.
Well, they've been killing, like, if you understand when the USSR broke down, right, and Gorbachev gave Germany both their side of Germany to NATO, and they had another agreement. NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and then on the other side was the Warsaw Pact, which had the Polands and or the Hungaries and all those guys. I think Hungary. And so they broke down the Warsaw Pact, and they expected NATO to break down theirs, and then there'd be all these neutral countries in the middle. And they said, we won't go any further towards Russia than Germany. That was the agreement. I mean, that's why Russia's so upset. And then in 5 tranches, they've gone closer and closer to Russia with NATO. And then the last tranche is Moldova, some other little one, and Ukraine, right? And then, and so then they're right on Ukraine. In the meantime, when USSR broke down, there were 30 million Russians in the old USSR that's not in the Russian Federation. So there's 30 million Russian associating, Russian speaking, Russian cultured, Russia is the motherland. There's 30 million people in these other countries that got the new borders. So Ukraine got a border, and Ukraine got a lot of, on the edges. A lot of them,
because they're
Russian people. And the reason I was very fortunate about 8 months ago, before the war and everything, I had a barbecue with a guy from Syria, and he did his degree in Odessa, right? So he did his degree, he learned Russian, he did his degree in Russian in Odessa, which is Ukraine, for the people who don't know Odessa. And he said when he went to pay the bill, right, the Ukraine calls their money rubber, I don't know, and the Russians call it rubles, right?
Rubles, yeah.
So he went to pay with his rubber, and they go, we're Russian, like we don't call it rubber, we call them rubles, right?
Right.
So he got all trained, and then in one of his breaks, he went to another part of Ukraine, and he says, it'll be I'll give you 100 rubles or whatever. He goes, oh, dude, don't talk about rubles here. These are rubberas, whatever they are.
Right.
Crazy. It's a completely binary culture that's completely either Russian, and then Ukraine said, okay, the Russian language is banned. You can't speak it. The Russian books are banned. The Russian history is banned. And in the meantime, they killed 14,000 civilians over the last 8 years in that autonomous area where they'd got the Russian people cleansing experiment going on. And so, it's pretty And they put the call out. Evidently there were troops on the edge of that area. There were troops going into the Donbass and whatever, and they put the call out to Putin to say, "Hey, we're going to get annihilated. Come and help us." And that was the trigger.
And one of the other interesting things about that, Perry, is that I hear, they say that Ukraine and that Donbass and Crimea, peninsula, those areas, that area for Europe is essentially Nebraska and Iowa and Missouri for America, for the Western Hemisphere. I mean, that is the breadbasket of Europe.
Yes.
In there. Oh, and one of the reasons that's where most of the wheat and the food comes from, out of that area. I mean, it would be like fighting over California, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, in the United States, where the majority of our produce is grown. At least American produce is grown.
Yeah. Exactly that.
That makes for additional craziness right there.
Yeah. And then when you blow up somebody's favorite toy on their birthday, it's a little bit incendiary, right? Like the Crimean Bridge, right?
The bridge, the bridge.
They blew it up on Putin's birthday.
Oh, was that on his birthday? Really?
Yeah. And then they're all taking photos. They had already pre-printed these images of the bridge blowing up, and Ukrainians were taking selfies with these images of the bridge blowing up the same day, right? So it was totally planned, right? And then you go, okay, that is a bit of a red line,
Yeah, and then you got Zelensky out there doing the Hollywood party scene and stuff, and it's like
amazing. He's a character. He's super smart, but he's an interesting character.
Let's see here. Interesting thing. Ukraine was a lot of governments, dirty little secrets of both crooked governments. This war is being brought to protect the corrupt. Yes. Yeah. No.
Yes. I agree. They were until the war. They were known as the most corrupt nation in Europe by far. And what do you know? Within 6 hours, that son of a gun was fired. No, he wasn't son of a gun, wasn't he? Son of a bitch, right?
Yeah. Trying to put as many ramps as I can. Awesome, John. Yeah. I mean, gotta keep it going, man.
Yeah, and I think also we should, really, for those of the guys who have gravitated towards the lower socioeconomic marketplace, it may be prudent to try and get into the AB demographic, the bigger houses, and this is, again, we come back, Dougie, to the presentation of your tools, the presentation of your truck, I know I've heard you go on and on about it in these Monday nights, This is the time to secure commercial contracts, because you can get regular income from them, by hook or by crook, not by crook, but you know what I mean by the saying. So, and then the high ticket customers, and maybe look at whatever other services you can provide, so that you're a more valuable service provider. You become harder to get rid of if you're doing 2 or 3 things compared to one thing, Add window cleaning.
Yeah, Perry, it's
adding window cleaning would be a smart thing.
They say that, during global recessions, and what becomes global recession versus global hyperinflation. I mean, they're both, really make global. I guess hyperinflation, you get global depression, but
yes.
You look at, the very rich will not be. They may have. I saw something the other day. That Mark, the Facebook Zuckerberg. He's lost half of his. Like he was worth.
Yes.
200 billion. Now he's only worth 100 billion since like last year or something, or since
disaster. Meta is a disaster.
Meta has just screwed him up. But he's probably still maintaining his properties. He's still getting stuff watched. But it
doesn't mean anything to him.
The very wealthy. And then the very poor are the two people that are usually least, because so much of the very poor, at least in America, they're on a government dole. They're being taken care of. They're stuck. But you got to also understand this. the very poor aren't contracting your services. They don't own anything.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the upper
Yes.
echelon people, the people that understand the value, and maybe not even the mega rich, but the people like, I don't want to say me, I'm not a good example of this, but the people that are living in the million and a half dollar houses that have seen the prices go up and understand how much what their investment's worth, they're going to keep it maintained at this point. But
Yes.
then the poor, the 300,000 and below demographic, they're going to hold on and hang on to every dollar that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the ones that I really wanted to talk with you about. Emotion, like as an emotional and social content for this chat, is the attitude that we have towards people who say no to us. I think is really, really important, that in the good times we can get really stroppy about people who say no to us, and we get a very almost derogatory attitude towards them, because there's so many people who say yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, you can't afford me, right? Oh, you pauper. But now it's very clear to understand that I've done in my Reach It workshops, on youtube.com/future of cleaning. I've done one called Who's Your Competition Now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And your competition now is no longer, the other pressure washer. Your competition now is Hulu, Disney, electricity, food, gas. This is your competition.
Amazing.
Yeah. So you really have to think very much, and then care. And I mean care, heart care, which I know both of you guys have got that in you, right? But everybody else, find your heart and understand. And if you've ever been poor and then had money, you won't have any problem with it. But the guys who have never been poor, who have never struggled, who've only been on an up curve because of the year that you're born, understand that at some point when most of your customers only have a certain amount of income that can come into their home. And they divide that income according. They have their fixed costs, and then they have their disposable income choices, which they have.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Choices. Include education for their children. Yep. Yeah. Which school that kids go to.
For the last 5 years.
Which wine they drink. Yeah. How many times they eat out. 100%. How many times they go to Cabo.
For the last 5 years, I mean, I have not put myself on a budget. During the rise of spray wash, and it's like we lived our $20,000 a year lifestyle on there. I mean, sure, but nowadays, okay, so we've sold the business. We now have the new business here and Power Wash in Tallahassee. Call me, and Tanya still has amazing income for hers, but we're now growing a new business, and I'm on a budget because I don't want to go and blow the nest. I can't live on the nest egg except for 36 months on there without changing our life around. So we're now on a budget that we were never on before. And I guarantee you there's a lot more people on a lot more stricter budgets that we've never even thought about. And for all the guys, like you were just saying, the guys that are going up, you've never done that. Let me assure you, as somebody who has gone broke before, coming down sucks. It's not fun. It's horrible.
It's very uncomfortable.
And you need to know how to adjust your market. You need to, first off, you need to save. You need to take your, you need to shore up your own house.
Not only save, but also invest.
Yeah, save and invest. I don't know what the hell you invest in, but you need to save. Get rid of the fat, but you need to make your equipment purchases count. Buy good equipment, and then you also need to adjust your marketing strategy. And like Perry said, you don't sit there and get heady when somebody goes, "Oh, you can't afford." Don't say I'm too high. You can't afford me. You know what? That's not it. Every call that you get in, this is the point to where right now it should be every call that you get in should count. You should
close it. Close it. I see. So what concerns me is that these courses going around what to do in a recession, and everybody's going and put your prices up. It's nonstop. Everybody put your prices up. Inflation's here. Put your prices up. It's like chest beating in a recession where the guys who are training have never been through a recession.
Yeah.
Right. They're all in their early 30s. They've never been.
They've been doing this for 2 years. The experts out there that have written books and have been in this thing for 2 years, and they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, frankly.
Even the boys that have had remarkable success with their customers, the boys of Conquer, right? And I don't know many of them, and I'm not in that network. but I know they've had remarkable success with some of their customers, and it's been fantastic for the people who have been part of it. Those guys, and I love Patrick Clark, those guys, that age group, they have not been through this. I know Patrick came from nothing. So the fact that Patrick came from nothing.
I started out about the same time. So he was, a little, but I think he did it maybe the year after or so, right around the same time. But me, I came out of that thing in 2008, 2009. That's whenever I literally lost the farm. I mean, figuratively and literally.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, that's right. I remember your story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody who's been through it, don't listen to anybody who hasn't been through it, because they can't possibly understand the emotion. And it's the emotion. It's how you have to pull yourself together, how you have to calibrate your non-self-induced demise. Like you're failing
it's the
forward.
Decisions that you have to make.
Enthusiasm.
You're facing your own demise.
Anybody that calls right now, first off, anybody that calls right now is either in a financial position to where they don't care, they've got lots of disposable income, or they need to have this done. We've preached, Doug and I have said this many times. If you get a call in January and February, also, I would maintain in December, January, February, times that are not traditional cleaning months out there, that's a good customer. You need to figure out how to close them. If they're calling in December, they're a commercial customer. They have money that they need to spend before the end of the year. If they're calling in January, February, they need something done, because the average consumer does not have spare money to spend.
Yes. So some of the strategies you could do, like if you want to, I would suggest that you want to close anybody, because anybody who's got a care of pride in their property is somebody that you want to catch now, because you don't know what's coming down in the future, and you're not going to lose anything by doing this. You're not going to go too far backwards, but you should catch them. And one of the things that you could do is offer them, how much too much am I, right? So they say it's too much for me. Okay, so how much too much is it? Let's say you quoted 1,000, and they say, look, 700 I could handle, right? Okay, so in sales training, the way to handle it is to say, so what we're talking about is $300. Am I right? Right?
And
the difference between doing the job and not doing the job for you is $300. And they go, yes. So how do we deal with this $300? I want to do your job. How do we work with this $300? I can't give you $300 off. Maybe I can make it $50 a month for 6 months in the future. How would that be? Think about how to catch.
What service can we remove, or how can we? Maybe we don't do this, or maybe we don't.
Can we meet in the middle? Or, and you know what? I'll tell you what. We've run a special before for veterans, or for people over 60, or for blah blah blah. I could probably find I did it. Don't cave. I mean, don't just give it up and say, here, take me right now. But you know what? We've done specials in the past for 10% off a house wash. Or if you did a house roof combination, we could offer 10% off of both services on there, and then negotiate that a little bit and let them know that, you're not, because that's where I do see guys rolling over and just saying, oh, take me, or whatever, which then makes all of a sudden you actually seem kind of smarmy and a little bit like a shit heel, because you're willing to cut.
If you offer finance for that difference,
right,
you just say, look, I'll take you 700, I'll do the work, and you pay me $50 a month for the next 6 months. You get your 1,000. You got your customer, they got their wash, right? You've got another customer that might survive the hyperinflation. That's my point. Like you start nudging all these people off, and then all of a sudden the phone stops ringing, and you're going, I should have just.
What the hell did I just do? Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and the other one which I used to do for pensioners is I used to say, look, I have a discount. We had 20% off, right? We had 20% off if I can ring you in the morning and provide that service the same day. In other words, if I get a canceled job or a rain day job,
and you can just fit it in wherever it fits into your
fill in. We
win-win.
call
That's
it
actually a pretty powerful tool
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can put
I'm
the
going
list.
to
At least
show up and wash your house sometime within the next week.
Yeah, and at least you've got a list of people that you've got a soft relationship with that you can ring back and say, because if the proverbial hits the proverbial, all these people are going to become important to you because you don't know which ones which ones are basically frugal rich people, or which ones are people who are not going to be able to afford anything.
I used to show on here when we did this live from the old spray wash office. I would show the calendar just to let people know that we weren't screwing around. Whenever I say, we have 3 trucks booked out 4 to 6 weeks, I would, I've always run this. My business is like an open book, and I'd show it. And I was like, okay, look, I'm not kidding. It's 4 weeks booked out. And then Tanya would book people in all the time, and she's like, look, we're booked out at 3 weeks out. But there's a very good chance that, the guys will get opened early on a day. A job will go better. Something will happen here. Can we call you if we can get you in earlier? Are you happy with that? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so your date is going to be October 21, but I'm guessing we can get that. And there'd be plenty of times where a job would go faster, and she would have a circle around that, and the guys would call in and then would say, hey, we're done. It's 2 o'clock. What else do you have for me? Let me call Mrs. Johnson right here. That's a $400 job. That means that's about a 2-hour job. Let's get that in for you. Or, whenever somebody calls, the week before or the day before and said, look, it's just not going to work out for us. We've now got a list of people on our schedule that want to be moved up.
Yeah.
And it works out. So even being booked out for a long time can work in your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it might be the day might come that I have to get on the phone and ring all the thousands of people that have ever bought from us and say, how's it going? Because I can help you clean faster, or do you need a brush or whatever? Like I'm just saying, what level of hustle do we need to go to at some point in the future?
And by the way, tomorrow coming in from my Estes delivery, I have got 2 radial rockers coming in. I'm stocking radial brushes now. Whenever we started our relationship with you at the power wash store, I said, heck, I couldn't. I was so excited, so I'm starting to carry those at the store now.
Nice. Yeah, well, make sure you have a look.
Right and say I was, not only is this something that there's very few things in my store that I have not used, and I can say the stuff that I'm used, I'm happy to go. No, dude, I used this. This was awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most powerful parts of the power wash stores is that every power wash store,
all of them are real
was a washer, or it is still a washer, and of some sort, whether it's window cleaning or roof clean, soft washing, pressure, whatever the case may be, fleet washing in the form of Steve Hill, so they know the equipment.
We've walked a mile in those shoes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we have gone for 2 hours and 12 minutes already, guys. We need to probably wrap this up.
We have. Perry was late.
Almost as long as a Joe Rogan, right?
Perry, thank you so much. And we need to do this again and not make it so long, not make it such a long time. I appreciate your insight. I consider you a friend, and you're a brilliant man, and you bring such a unique perspective,
Yeah, especially on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Well, every Tuesday morning I log in if I'm not in a meeting, and I always log in and listen to you boys because I always feel that you add incredible value to the community. It's always good fun,
it's something we love, and we love these knuckleheads that follow us, and we love the industry, and we just want to see good things happen to it, but unfortunately, I also see a lot of bad things happening with what we've been talking about tonight. I think that there's a lot of bad stuff on the horizon. Doug, I think you feel kind of the same way too.
Absolutely. Perry, we appreciate you very much.
We can focus just like you did for the hurricane. We could focus on if maybe there's another guy who's older as well who's been. You just need somebody who was in business. I was in business from 25 years old. So I'm 60 this year. So I've just been in business. I've been up and down. I've had multi-million-dollar business. I've been bust like crazy. I've been in every court in the land, so I've had a very colorful life. and I've self-represented in every court, one or neutralized every case, like, so I've got no criminal record or anything like that, but I've been a very passionate person. I'm very passionate about morals and beliefs and directions and right and wrong and all that. But I've also failed, and so that failure is valuable right now for guys to tap into, how we got back up again, how we survived, how we managed our souls, right? Because you can get very depressed in failure, and we want to prepare people's minds for the tough times to say you're not failing. It's just you're doing it tough, right? That's kind of, I'm passionate about that because I get a sense that some tough times coming,
Doug knows this story, and I can't say names, but somebody I was sorely disappointed in, who called me, and he was a well-known coach and business mentor guy, and he called me for a private chat and said, he was really upset. COVID had knocked him back, 50% on his $1 million business. And he's like, yeah, everybody had to go away. I've fired everybody, and I've got 2 techs now, and I was thinking, but what an amazing story you have just to tell people, going, look, you know what? Sometimes you get kicked in the teeth, but one of the things that disappointed me the most is that the next time he put a message out there, it wasn't that he had gotten kicked in the teeth. It wasn't that. It was, the next video I saw of him is, hey, we're just out here just really rocking and rolling at this point and doing it. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, 4 days ago, you called me and you were literally crying about you didn't know what to do. We worked our way through it and kind of got a game plan together, with some coaching and training. But you would have been much more inspirational if you would have just said, guys, sometimes bad things happen to good people no matter how you try. And this is why we change.
Yeah, that horrible to watch video that Carlos put out, to love your kids and hug your kids, like that was a horrible one to watch. But he'd spent 3 or 4 or 5 days thinking how to present his horrific trauma in a way that could add value to others and still be able to share from in the midst of it. He was right in it,
And from this guy's video that he put out, you would have never realized that anything was ever wrong. And it's like,
never know, right?
I know the truth, I mean, I don't like stuff that's not based in truth. And that's one of the things that bugs me about a lot of mentors in this business, bugs me a lot about a lot of coaching.
That's what I'm referring to. That's what I'm referring to. And also, the next time we talk, because I know it's 2 hours 15, the strategy is to if you have money now, what to do with that money is most likely replace any tool that's old.
Yeah.
Right. Buy anything that increases your efficiency, because if the worst happens, you end up a one-man band, highly efficient, highly capable of delivering a large income to your family without overheads. Right. And if the best happens, you expand your business. Let's say a whole lot of other guys lose their businesses and you're the only guy surviving, which also could happen. Nobody knows who's who, right? Your team will become more efficient. So you can't lose by spending the money you have right now on efficiency. I've always, and every time I've seen my life falling apart, I've always bought a new laptop. MacBook, because I always go, this could last 5 years. I need a computer that lasts 5 years, because I may not have the money to.
You could wind up picking up you could pick up trailers. You could pick up guys to work with you. I mean, I don't want to say for you, but technically for you. But you can network. Guys that are really struggling. It would be amazing. That I guarantee you, there's guys that are I guarantee you right now that there's guys out there struggling that are getting their asses handed to them on a daily basis, that are making $40,000 a year, and you could have them come to you, and now they don't have to wear 17 or 13 different hats, every day. They actually only work 8 or 10 hours a day. Some days they only work 6 hours a day. I mean, Doug, I used my techs. My lead techs used to get $60,000 a year at Spray Wash plus tips out there. You and I've talked about, the successor company. To me, there's guys over there, lead techs, making $85,000 a year at this point. I mean, it's not more than guys are making running
as owners of the company.
And it's literally showing up to a place and saying, okay, what do I wash today?
Yep. Exactly.
Exactly. So I was going to mention that earlier, and I thought I was a little bit contentious, but I'm glad you brought it up, because it's one of the options to, and again, we often talk about how we talk about our competitors in the industry, and now's the time to cut that bullshit too, right? Start being friends with everybody in your local region, because that obviously, if there's an asshole somewhere in there, then you don't need to deal with him, of course, but basically try and befriend the other exterior service contractors, try and form whatever alliances can be formed, form alliances. Like, you can't lose if everything goes fine and Russia, withdraws from Ukraine and the $31 trillion of US debt somehow gets repaid, and Nord Stream 2 gets over, Nord Stream 2 Fork 1 gets reopened, and everything goes back to normal. You haven't lost anything. So everything you do for the future as if you're not going to lose, but you do to survive in the event of some horrific things happening. And there, I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a whole 2-hour session, like you did for the hurricane. Yeah. I think it's a whole session on this.
I mean, you could literally do it. I mean, like very biblical, but gird your loins kind of thing there. I mean, and these are the times to where, we try to be out ahead of things, and that's something we need to talk about. I mean, how do we, somebody asked me the other day, is like, hey, what are your plans for the fall? And I thought they talked about, we were meaning like Western civilization, and apparently they were just talking about autumn. But
that's great.
But that's, one of the things that we should all sit here and talk about. What can we do for to make sure our companies come through these recessions and bumps or depressions? I mean, because damn it, it's going.
And one is in the physical world: your tools, your business, your routes, your customers that are too far away. Maybe you can swap a customer with a guy on the other side of town, because you're driving an hour to that job. You find a dude, you like him. You say, you give me one on this side, I'll give you one on that side. 100%. That's what we used to do with the franchise. I know a lot about that, because our franchise, when I sold a franchise, we would buy customers from all the existing franchises, put $1,000 worth of work a week together for this guy, and he would buy that, and we would give that money to those franchises that cut off what I call, you cut off the lizard's tail. The customer that you're underpriced on, you can give that to him. Right, the customer that you're driving too far to, you can give that to him. But in an independent sense, we can swap customers. Go and visit the customer face to face. Tell the customer, if you don't like the guy, we'll keep, we're all truth tellers. We're not running a scam.
We should be truth tellers anyhow.
Yeah, we should be. Yeah.
Hey, we're almost 2.5 hours into this, guys. We should probably.
I can keep doing this all night. That's the funny.
Yeah, we're just gonna roll on to something else. So
we are.
We can schedule it for another date and time and all that kind of.
All right, buddy. Yeah, anytime.
It's been too long since I've seen you in person, buddy. So
absolutely.
I'm aging gracefully.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you are, buddy. Crazy.
Thank you so much for your time.
We appreciate y'all for hanging out and listening to us for this long, by the way.
Yeah. You guys that have been around, thank y'all. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to sign out. Perry, thank you. We'll be in contact. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Yeah. Really good fun. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay. Sleep well, guys. See ya.